I am Omotayo Agunbiade, a legal practitioner by profession, and I am married with 2 children. I'm a woman that loves young people. I've always had this thing for teenagers and young adults. And this started right from my undergraduate days in the university. And ever since then, I've always had this thing to do with them. And in line with this, and as a result of my passion, this gave birth to an annual conference that I hold annually for the young teenagers and young adults. We target Let's Talk About Sex and Other Matters. And usually at this conference, we talk about sexual issues, we talk about relationship and their career. And also from there, we've started this thing that we take around secondary schools. We call it Sexual Purity Campaign. And we have another version of it, hashtag Keep Girls in School. All this we do, and also I have this thing that I do with the singles that are ready to get married, as in singles that are preparing for marriage. We call it Singles Timeout. So all these are the things I do as a result of my passion for the teenagers and young adults. In our society today, there is this sad reality. Sex has been hyped, overhyped, and it has made the teenagers to see it as one big deal out there. And whether it has been abused by the teenagers or not, yes, it has been abused by the teenagers. There is no longer this sanity that was obtainable, in the days of our parents, when virginity was seen as the in thing to be celebrated after marriage. But in our society today, it's the other way around. And one funny thing you now see among teenagers, if you're a teenager and you've not done sex, they see you as somebody that is not normal, So they see it as one thing, unfortunately, that makes them the teenage girl, that makes them the happening teenage boy. And it's part of what we try to come out and set right and correct in our society, for them to know that this thing has been overhyped, and there is an ideal environment for it, not just something any male, any female can pick up and do, but for them to know that sex should be done in the right setting, which is the ideal setting, which we all know that it's marriage. And that's part of the message that we pass across to the teenagers in our society today. Introducing sex education to our children, there is no time that is too early. And for me, yes, you hear some say from age 3, from age 4, from age 5. But for me, I would say once your child can, call out mommy, can call out daddy, I believe at such time that child has come to understand that somebody is daddy, somebody is mommy. And at that time, there are basic things that one can start introducing to the child. Yes, because we call it sex education does not mean it has to be all about the sex. But, when the child can identify that, okay, this is a particular body part, this is another particular body part, then from there, one can begin to teach the child. Like, you don't just play with your private part. Like, we see some children as early as maybe 2, 3, while they're holding their feeding bottle, they like to just fondle with a particular part of the body. And one thing we should know, anything a child picks, an habit grows from there. So the moment probably a child holding the feeding bottle and fondling with a particular part of the body, one can gently remove the hand from there. To me, to an extent, that's a kind of sex education. And the moment the child can talk, from 3, from 4, let them know the basic parts, the private parts of the body, the public parts of the body, the part of the body that somebody can touch, the part of the body that somebody else can, as in another person cannot, that someone cannot touch other than you. So from there, we begin to teach our child, because at that time, from that age as a toddler, from 3, from 4, Whatever understanding they have at that time will go a long way to mold them as they grow up. There is high rates of sexual immorality in our society, and this is the fault. One cannot say it's on this particular person or the other, but one thing that I want to pick it one after the other. You know, in our society today, there is no longer regulation on how things should go. I remember while growing up, when you're watching a TV show, movie, or all these sitcoms that we watch at home these days, in those days, there is restriction on what can be viewed, on what can be shown. You know, I remember in those days when they are showing something and it's getting to a kind of private thing that needs to be shown. You just see the TV coming up with "stay tuned." You see them probably putting something for you not to see what is actually happening. But in our society today, the caution is thrown into the air. The entertainment is filled with all obscenities that children that are too, that children ought not to view. Adverts are laced with sexuality. It's all over. Then now that's on the part of the society. We no longer regulate some things again. Now coming to the home. Parents are there. They are available there, but a lot of parents don't really take note of what their words view. Nobody, most times, parents are busy to make it economically. We know the way the society is. We know the way the economy is. But at the same time, we need to place our priorities right. These days, we see parents that are not available in the homes for the children. Nobody guides what the children view. So at tender age, you see children that are already viewing adult content. So this is already formed in their system. So, yes, the society, at the same time our parents, then also the guardians. There are some things, some don't even know the restriction in what and what not to be discussed with children. You see some teachers, yes, so sad. We see cases where you see teachers discussing adult contents with their children. Sometimes out of ignorance and just feel, okay, this is something that should be discussed. And some out of ulterior motive, because they know the moment they begin discussing personal things with their students, it arouses a level of interest in them. From there, it develops in some things that ought not to be. So, it's something that is actually ravaging our society. Also, we have it at home, in the homes, also sometimes in the schools. And all this needs to be looked into and addressed properly. For me, when you see a teenager that has such issue, maybe has high sexual drive, and for me, I realize such a child needs help. First and foremost, I might want to just make her, because for such child to be brought to me at that time, definitely it has been identified that such child needs help. So the first thing to let the child know is that, yes, there's nothing wrong with you, but there's something wrong with the habits that you have, and that needs to be corrected. So we want to start with the exposure of the child. What are the things, because I want to know what is the roots, what brings about this drive. Because most times the things the teenagers view has actually affected them, that they have formed, that has brought about these habits in them. So some, it might be as a result of what they view. And so we might have to start with that to look into the things. Probably there is a porn site somewhere the child is addicted to, or probably a particular kind of novels the child read, or a particular set of people that the child, that the teenager is moving out with, or probably there is a substance that the child is taking at that time. So all this, I will first want to look into it. Then when we discover that, then we'll now want to probably try to make, to really define how to help the child, to help such child to do away with some of these things, which might not be easy, but it will take a gradual process, from there. Then another thing, we'll now want to address the personality of the child, which is also very, very important. It might be probably out of low self-esteem. You see a lot of teenage girls especially having low self-esteem, and as a result feels, okay, one thing that defines me as an ethnic girl or make me feels like one of my friends is probably the number of boys that I go out with, the number of boys that have slept with me. Unfortunately, these are some of the things that goes on in the minds of our teenagers. So we will want to look at the personality to see how it has brought about these kind of habits in such child. Then we go through that process of helping such child to see herself in the true light of who she is, that she doesn't have to do something. How do I mean? There was this case of a girl that was about to clock 18, and on the night of her birthday, her friends, they've organized for her to sleep with a guy, and to them, that's what introduces her into adulthood. So we've seen something that's happened among our teenagers, and from there, they now be like, okay, so it's like this. And from there, they picked up such habits. And for them, because there are some that naturally, they have high libido. And once they've been introduced to sex at the wrong time, it brings up this in them. So we have to go through, take time to know the things that are instrumental to these habits that has been formed over time. Then from there, we know how to help. In spite of the campaigns, in spite of the things we do, we still see cases of rape on the increase every now and then, child abuse and the rest. Talking with a couple of colleagues some times ago, and we realized that basically what we do as counselors or therapists or whatever you do, what we do is damage control. Because if we look at it, most of these things, if we look at the root of it, it starts from somewhere. Either when you see a child that has been damaged right from childhood, such child grows up to become a damaged adult. And those are the kind of adults who see outside becoming rapists, becoming pedophiles, and the likes. You see, sometimes we can't say it's a society that is responsible. To an extent, the society has to do. Also, it starts from the home. And this, we really need to talk to our parents. How are you bringing up your child? What are the things the child see you do? A lot of child today, they watch their parents, what they do. And somehow that has been formed in their subconsciousness. Now, if we really want to look at the case of rape, when you see a young child growing with less supervision. We've had cases that we deal with teenagers and young adults, especially teenagers. We've realized that some teenagers go into these vices because they want the attention of their parents. Unfortunately, they are picking the wrong things to do. But the sad reality is, if you look at some of these people, you see a lot of teenagers rebelling because they want attention from their parents. Recently, I was speaking with a teenager and he was saying that, Daddy, Mommy, they are not always available because of this. So sometimes I tend to do the things they don't want me to do. Sometimes I tend to rebel so that at least if I'm reported in school, that will bring them to come and check me in school. That will bring them to be able to see some things that I do. So in cases like this, we see wrong, unfortunately, a child doing that just because he wants attention. A child doing that knowing that until I commit something that, seems to tarnish their image, until it gets to that level, sadly, they won't do anything. Also the society, it's an Hydra-eyed thing. It's an Hydra-eyed thing. We can't say, as much as we say you can't hold somebody responsible for who you have made yourself to be, we can't also rule out some things that are fundamental, that have damaged the making of a child. And at the same time, coming to the individuals, I think we all need to address this issue that individually too, we need to be responsible for what we do. There are some that they just speak it out of habits. We see some things happen among young people, and they tend to be like, and that's what defines me as a guy. And you see them probably betting on a particular lady, or I want to see if I can get her lane. I want to see who can do it first. And you see them making bets among themselves. These are some of the terrible vices that we see. So to an extent, it's because of the things that happen in our society. And one thing that I also noticed that has made this to be increased is the high rate of the usage of drug. This has really damaged our teenagers and young adults today. And once they are under the influence of these hard drugs, there is nothing they cannot attempt. You can say rape is the least that they will attempt to do once they are under the influence of the drugs. And I think to an extent the government is trying their bits in curbing this thing, but at the same time, they still need to do a lot. How do these drugs come in? How do these drugs get into the hands of these young people? I think these are the things that the government really needs to look into and address. To either a guy or a lady that is a rape victim, my advice to you is, it's not the end of the world. And I will encourage such person, if it's something that is unknown to the people around you, do yourself a lot of good by finding somebody to talk to. Because at that point, at the point like this, when one finds him or herself as a rape victim, you need all the counsel that you can get. Something to put you back in the right frame of mind. Something to let you realize that you are not a trash. Because unfortunately, when something like this happens to a lady or a guy, they tend to see themselves in a negative way. But I tell you, in actual fact, you are not the victim. You are not the victim. Because that's what, unfortunately, the society make you to see. But I will advise at that time, you need all the healing you can get. You need all the therapy you can get. Why did I say this? Because if you don't get it, the experience you have had will become a dark shade in your life that, if it's not addressed well, will affect a lot of things in your life in the future. So, when something like this has happened to an individual, you need to be taken through the process of healing. Apart from whether you forgive the person that did it to you or not, you need to heal yourself and forgive yourself. Most times we see people that are victims of instances like this blaming themselves. If I had not gone to that area, if I had not walked, at that particular time, maybe this wouldn't have happened to me. Or maybe the people around them may make them to see you are the one that seduced. I've seen cases like that. And instead of maybe their guardians or their parents to address the issue, they would tend to be blaming such girl or guy that you were the one that actually seduced the person. So I want you to first and foremost heal yourself, forgive yourself. You are not the one, you are not the person that has problem. It's the person that committed the crime, that raped, that has the problem, that really needs some rehabilitation. So first, heal yourself. Don't see yourself as a trash. If you need to see a therapist, I will advise you see a therapist. You need some healing. You need to go through the process of healing. Because if you are not healed properly, it will affect everything about you in the future. In this our part of the world, I think our parents need to be rightly educated on the need for counseling on the need for our children to be guided rightly. You know, most of the times, unfortunately, a lot of parents don't have an idea of what their children are going through. They don't have an idea of the emotions that run through them. They don't have an idea of the peculiarity of each stage. They don't have an idea of the kind of peer pressure that their children are faced with outside. And so once they see a particular attitude in a child, they easily conclude, this is probably somebody from my village is monitoring my children, or somebody has exchanged the destiny of my children or manipulated the destiny of my children. It's not, it's so funny. This happens because we, in this side of the world, we are so superstitious, and easily we conclude on these things. And some go as far as saying the child is possessed, and they take them through some form of deliverance, of sort. But I will want to advise, please, when you see a child displaying a particular habit that doesn't sit down well with you, try to dialogue with such child. Try to communicate with such child. And in a situation where you realize you can't achieve this on your own, we have professionals out there that are counselors, that are therapists, that one can easily meet to talk to. Some, yes, they do it for a living, you pay for it. In our world, we should learn to appreciate professionals. They do us a whole lot of good. I remember recently, there's an issue that needed to be addressed in my child, and I realized even with my own experience, I couldn't handle it. I had to call a colleague. Okay, I need you to help me talk to her. I need you to help me handle some things, and it was sorted out. So I want to encourage us, our parents, when you see situations like this that seem naughty for you to handle, seek professional advice, meet people, meet counselors, meet therapists. Sometimes, yes, you might think I might have to pay for this, but I tell you, there are a whole lot of people that can help. We have people that are genuinely helping young adults. We have people that are genuinely helping teenagers. Connect them with your child. Seek their advice on how to handle situations. It's not every habit of a child that is related to village people responsible for it, or some it could be out of peer pressure. They are just doing it because he wants to feel among with his friends. Some out of maybe just habits. Children pick up habits, and the moment we see this, we should do everything possible to correct it at that time. When you notice that you can't handle it, I advise seek professional help. Meet counselors, meet therapists that the child can go talk to, and it will be sorted out. Dealing with teenagers and young adults these days, and I've come to realize something, and I know a number of people will agree with me. The major issue we are faced with right now is parents. Parents are not available. Yes, everybody is running after money. Everybody wants to make it good. And it has led to a situation where we have a lot of children growing up with less supervision. And unfortunately, parents are growing children that they don't really know. We see a lot of children that they have habits that their parents are not even aware of. There is need for our parents to grow with their children. A lot of parents are not growing with their children. How do I mean? For us as parents, we need to grow with our children as they are growing from one stage of development to another stage of development. How much of your child do you know? A lot of parents don't know their children. It's not about I know my child's name. It's not about paying the school fees. It's not about clothing or the food you provide. Thank God for you. You do all that. But parenting goes beyond that. How much of your child do you know? How do you know our temperament? Do you know his temperament? Who are his friends? Who are our friends? You know, all those things we really need to know so that we can properly guide our children. You know, from like I said, one of the things I do, we go to schools to talk to children. We go to school to talk to teenagers. And sometimes when they, after talking with them and they ask us questions, and on a level, as much as we can do at that time, we try to answer their question. And sometimes we'll be like, okay, when you get home, try to talk to your mommy. When you get home, try to talk to daddy. And you hear what's like, that one that does not have my time. My mommy is not always at home. My daddy is not always at home. So where are the mommies? Where are the daddies? So if you're there, I want to just encourage our parents. Yes, we need the money to take care of them. At the same time, our children need us. We have a lot of children growing up today that have little or no relationship with their parents. And this really needs to be addressed in our society today. And it's affecting our children. It's affecting them psychologically. It's affecting them emotionally. You see children that say, my mommy does not understand me. My daddy does not understand me. I want to tell you, if you do not care to understand or grow with your child, there are a lot of people waiting out there to take advantage of the ignorance of your child. So it's in our interest and in the interest of grooming good and positive-minded children, to be available for our children, to be there to parent them right. It goes beyond paying school fees. It goes beyond clothing them. It goes beyond putting food on the table for them. But we need to be available for them. We need to be there to give them attention. We need to be there to give them care. When you see a child that gets the right attention, when you see a child that gets the right care, when you see a child that gets, emotional strength from the parent, then I will tell you a child that will grow up to have a high self-esteem. You will see a child that will grow up to believe strongly in himself. So to our parents out there, let's wake up. Let's grow with our children. Yeah, the International Day of the Girl Child is just a few days to this time, precisely 11th day of October 2021, which is on Monday. That is a day set aside all over the nations to celebrate the girl child. The importance of a girl child to the mother, it's actually a big one. To the mother, your girl child is your friend, your girl child is your sister. Your girl child is your confidant. Your girl child is your best friend. And I think mothers really need to make their girl child, I'm talking to a mother out there now. There's a need for you to make your girl child realize that this is who I am to you. Your girl child must be able to see herself as your friend. Your girl child must be able to see herself as your sister. Your girl child must be able to see herself as your confidant. Your girl child should find a friend in you. These are all the things that will boost the morale of our girl. These are the things that help our girls to grow with high self-esteem. Make them know how important they are to you. Make your girl child know that, yes, I'm important to mommy. She knows mommy is important to her, but how have you made her to see who she is to you? Let her realize that you are that one friend that she has, that she can easily run to. Make her realize that you are that person, a go-to person for her, that when she has any question troubling her minds, she can easily go to talk. And I think mothers really need to play this role for the girl child. A girl child has a lot of questions to ask. A girl child has found herself in a society where most time is all about the guys. And a girl child has found herself in a society where sometimes people tend to look at her in a way that is unseemly, probably by virtue of how her makeup is or the way she looks or something. So the mother needs to be there for the girl child. The availability of a mother goes a long way to strengthen the girl child. Not just being available, but how are you boosting her morale? How are you making your girl child to see herself? Let's rise up. Let's make the girl child believe in herself. Let's make the girl child realize that there is a power in her. You know, you see a girl that the mother is always there to encourage, then I will tell you a girl child that will grow up to believe in herself. A girl child that will grow up to see herself beyond the femininity, but will see herself as somebody that needs to affect our society, as somebody that that the society is waiting to hear from. So mothers should do well by projecting the right image for the girl child. Mothers should do well by being the right model for the girl child. Mothers should grow up by being the first encourager for the girl child. When a girl child is being encouraged at home, the girl child with that confidence will go out there to positively affect the society. No matter how little, what is the gift or that talent the girl child has, help her project it. Help her laud it. Let her believe in whatever she can do with her hands. Let her believe in the personality that she has grown up to have. And the more you believe in your girl child, the more the morale will boost. The more the self-esteem will rise. The more the girl child will grow up to believe in herself. And when she goes out there into the society, the strength that she's carrying from the home will sustain her in the society and will not allow anyone to silence her or look down on her because she's a girl child.